Oklahoma State kicks off a very ambitious financial campaign that could put Oklahoma State into a new stratosphere, especially if they can absolutely dominate the next football hire.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in all of our Big 12 brethren. Shout out to all of the regulators, and welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today we get to roll right into this conversation of the code that is called to Stillwater, Oklahoma, to the tune of $2 billion. Yes, billion with a B. That is the number that Oklahoma State is trying to kick off here. Now, this does kind of stem back a little bit more from 2021, and we're going to read a New Six article kind of here and go over some of that. But basically, if you're trying to get the donor base and individual fans to kind of, kick in a little bit more and do a little bit more, naturally, if you absolutely hammer home this next head coach, so much so that everybody feels very confident about the direction of Oklahoma State football moving forward, then I think you could easily take this and launch it into the stratosphere of future success for Oklahoma State. This is obviously a very big number, a very ambitious goal, but it's better than settling for a lower number. So as it pertains to Oklahoma State trying to get this done, I wanted to go back and read this New Six article, or at least a portion of it. Oklahoma State President Jim Hess announced a campaign at the McKnight Center, which I do think there are some parallels there, because I think Ross McKnight definitely could be, or maybe should be, the next Boone Pickens level individual. So it's very fitting that this kicks off at the McKnight Center alongside members of the OSU Foundation, the university's private funding organization. Hess called the name of the campaign a nod to the Cowboy Code, principles that embody the Oklahoma State spirit. The effort began raising money in 2021, and it's already up to nearly $900 million. More than 81,000 alumni and friends have kicked in for that amount. The university calls this moment historic because it's the most money OSU has ever committed to raising in one singular campaign. The last one was $1.2 billion that was set to about 10 years ago. But Oklahoma State President Jim Hess said that this one puts students at the center, which does make this a little bit more different, a little bit different than anything we've done previously. And I kind of like this added layer to it. Mr. Hess said, this campaign is about students and how we impact their lives and connect every single student with a donor, said Dr. Hess. So every student who receives a scholarship will be connected to the donor who gave them the scholarship. This mission is personal for Dr. Hess, who received a donor scholarship that allowed him to attend Oklahoma State back in 1975. He said, my life was different because of the generosity of that one person. And so that's the reason this campaign is about the student experience and focusing a lot on the student scholarships. Two students were surprised. Dr. Hess said that he wants donors to feel engaged in the process, and for every donor's passion, we have an opportunity. He said that some donors might want to help build the life sciences building or complete the Human Performance Innovation Center, while others are interested in supporting revenue sharing and give athletics direct payment from the university. Dr. Hess chuckled when asked if this kind of money will make the football team good again. Well, everybody always wants to talk about football, he said, and I can promise you this. OSU will have a great football coach very, very soon, and our opportunities ahead of us are great, but I can promise you that OSU will again achieve greatness in football. When pressured for what it is very, very soon, Dr. Hess said, I would say before Santa Claus came. Okay. In a press release, the campaign lists 4 core pillars, and it plans to build upon these. Those 4 are living the Cowboy way, a.k.a. supporting student leadership, mentorship, and well-being. Number 2, creating life-changing opportunities, expanding scholarships, and access to education. Number 3, leading with humility, advancing academics and athletic excellence and career readiness. Powering progress, driving innovation, and solving real-world challenges. Now, although he's not going to answer the football conversation directly, right, whenever it comes to like a time frame before Santa Claus is kind of ridiculous. But I also don't want us to lose sight of the fact that, yes, I think this is absolutely remarkable that we're asking for money, but we're doing it more in a student-oriented kind of way to kind of bridge the gap between donors and students. I do think this is smart because as you progress in your fandom, if you ever have the prospects of giving back to your university, it's probably going to be because of something like this. So if you can get a donor to make a good impression early on in your career, and then you go off and you do something miraculous and you become a billionaire, perhaps it could be this interaction that leads you down the line to be this beneficiary for somebody else in the future. So I do think that that is extremely important. As Mike Gundy has said previously, football is the front porch to university. So as much as people want to chip in for other performing arts buildings and things of that nature, absolutely must have, because you have to be able to continuously offer something for the students to increase enrollment, so on and so forth. But football is that front porch. And if your football team's good, typically your other sports have more money to be good. It helps with the, all of the student and the enrollment and the visibility. That's what dictates how people typically come to your college. So I think this is a remarkable idea for Oklahoma State to kick this off. I kind of think the timing of it is pretty good, because what you're doing is you're kind of putting it in the ether there that you need to pay attention to this. This is something that Oklahoma State needs to do. You need to be a part of this. Oh, and by the way, if X, Y, or Z is named the next head coach, that is going to obviously inspire people to donate, especially if it's a G.J. Kinney or an Eric Morris or an Alex Golash. Those guys are program builders. And I do think that all of them could instantaneously come into Stillwater, take the success they've had previously with a renewed vision for financial incentives to come to Oklahoma State. I think you're seeing some of that in basketball. We have never, probably never will be, the top spenders in NIL when it comes to basketball. However, with the help of guys like Vance Hunter and several others that have increased the visibility for the need for NIL in basketball, you're now seeing a product on the court that we can all not only be proud of, but definitely find ways to back even more financially. We need all that we can get. You're seeing what Texas Tech's doing. You're seeing the money that BYU is spending. And Oklahoma State doesn't have the same fan base that BYU does. And we don't have our current version of Boone Pickens. But again, why I said it was interesting that this was held in front of the McKnight Center, I do believe that Ross McKnight could be that next Boone level individual. Even if it's not necessarily all his $365 million or whatever the case may be, he's a genius, especially when it comes to getting people together and rallying the Cowboy country for more donations, essentially. So I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that this is a good timing thing, but if we don't nail this next football coaching hire, then a lot of this will, or some of it at least, will kind of fall on deaf ears, or it won't have the same level of intrigue to it, unfortunately. Speaking of intrigue, FanDuel is the bee's knees for all of your betting needs. The NBA action is back, and there's not a better place for you to get in on it than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next fourth quarter comeback bucket or who's going to get the next steal. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet is a winner. So make sure that you head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up today. Get with FanDuel, where you can play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now we get to jump into this Kansas State conversation, and I wanted to give a shout out to Ivan. I try not to read a bunch because I don't do a lot of reading, but Ivan White from Sports Illustrated just put out an article recently titled "The Burning Questions for Oklahoma State's Matchup Against Kansas State." And I think it's pretty interesting. The number one thing is, can Zane Flores build on his performance at Kansas? I think not only that, right, completing 28 passes for 235 yards, threw the first touchdown of his career. I think a large portion of that is just Kevin Johns also being more involved, because when Zane Flores was getting his opportunities before the injury, it wasn't with Kevin Johns calling the plays, right? So I do think that if you can take some of the emergences that he's been able to find in Zane Flores' game throughout the course of the season, that familiarity with Zane Flores and Kevin Johns probably is going to be helpful here, because he understands what Zane is good at. He understands some of his limitations, maybe even more so than a Doug Meacham. So I do think that Zane can build off of this performance, not necessarily even all because of him, but I think because of Kevin Johns factored in this as well. All right, the next thing he brought up, how will the OSU crowd look? Hopefully flipping fantastic. I'll say this. Whenever I went back for homecoming, yeah, it's homecoming. Yeah, that's going to give you a little bit of a boost. But I did not anticipate walking into a packed house. The T-shirt fan section 231 stuff, the banana people stuff, and now you're seeing that crossover in Gallagher-Iba. I freaking love it. One thing that Ivan said here that I wanted to hit on, he said, on the other hand, fan interest is rising rapidly in winter sports, and the Cowboys could benefit from fans having some OSU fever after watching basketball and wrestling start the seasons hot. That, I think, is a very, very good point here. We're trying to, build the positivity, and part of that is, what are the teams going to look like moving forward? How many of this roster are going to be willing to stay? I can tell you that the fans in the stands do play a part in that, right? If they can see that the interest is still there, that the intensity from the fan base at least making something beneficial for the players, if they can continue to see that's still there, it may only sway one other dude or two other dudes. I don't even necessarily think the number matters. I think it does matter that we keep showing up, because you're seeing good teams in the Big 12, teams that are vying for bowl games that are not even getting half their stadiums. And it's such a terrible look for the conference, that we need to do our part. And we may not be able to win on the football field, but dagnabbit, we can win up in the stands. So I hope that continues. The next thing Ivan mentioned here, can the Cowboys keep this one close? I actually wanted to read his little excerpt here. After a solid-ish performance in Lubbock defensively and an all-around solid outing through the first half in Lawrence, the Cowboys look to be building something toward the end of the year. Of course, their bye week could impact that momentum in a variety of ways, with the Wildcats coming into town still looking to become bowl eligible and playing some of their best football of the season as of late. Safe to say that this game won't be easy for the Cowboys still. If OSU can continue to show its improved over the past few weeks, playing this one at home could help the Cowboys for the most part. Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times recently. Chris Kleiman is over. He hasn't been there a tremendous amount of time, so it makes sense. But they haven't won in Boone Pickens since 2017. Before that was 1999. So even the legendary Bill Snyder didn't have a lot of success inside Stillwater. We just mentioned, can Zane Flores pick up of this last performance? I think yes, especially with the familiarity he already had with Kevin Johns, and Kevin Johns' understanding of not only what he can do, but what the offense is going to need him to kind of work within. Very well could have been why he put up 235 yards, had a couple touchdowns. Another big factor, I think, is the bye week. Last time we played Kansas State, also off of a bye week, and it was a couple years ago, but we did in fact get a W. And a time that, we didn't know exactly what we were going to be doing. We ended the 2023 season because of this win. We came off of a bye. Things were not looking great. We weren't necessarily in contention. We were kind of there, but not really there. It took a night win of a ranked Kansas State squad before Oklahoma State kind of, built that climb back up for 2023 that allowed us to get to Arlington. We might be able to kind of recreate some of that. We've mentioned Sean Snyder being the only holdover left of this previous year's staff. This has to be a game where special teams comes through. Ironically enough, this is something that Kansas State has always been known for, always likely will be known for. So to see Sean Snyder make something pretty miraculous happen would be pretty amazing. Kansas State is reeling. Right. And although they're going to be very, very prepared for this, seeing as how they have to win a couple games to still get into a bowl, this is the game that is going to be circled as the easiest. That's yet another reason why I do want to hit on what Ivan said at the end. I do think that Oklahoma State can keep this close, not only because of their lack of success at times in Boone Pickens Stadium, the inner turmoil that they're going through. The Dylan Edwards saga is officially over. I don't know that necessarily means that we're going to be a favorite to win it, right? But keeping it close, I think, is definitely a possibility. We've had a couple games this season where we fought all the way to the third quarter. We just haven't really strung everything together. This is where you factor in the bye week. We don't know exactly what this coaching staff can or cannot do, because from week to week, they've kind of just been thrown through the rules. And we've seen one area improve while another area kind of falls apart, and another area improve. We just have yet to put it all together. That's what a bye week is for, right? So we got a better version of Zane Flores this previous ball game. If Rodney Fields is healthy, Trent Howland is healthy, we should be able to do some things creativity-wise to give ourselves a chance. And giving ourselves a chance here is just basically keeping it close. I think the spread is, 19.5? Could Oklahoma State keep it close? I think we should. I think Clint Bowen's been adequate this season. I think the front seven has been something that we can kind of look forward to as a positive moment on the season, as well as the development within the offensive line. But outside of that, we haven't had a lot of things to look forward to. But Avery Johnson had a big coming out party last time he was in Stillwater. So if you're going to play devil's advocate, it would be the fact that he's probably anticipating this game. At the same time, I'm sure our defense is going to want to say something about this, because after having 4 games in a row where we weren't allowing a 100-yard rusher, we got absolutely drugged through the mud in our previous game before the bye week. So yeah, we scored some points. We put up 235 yards passing. Our quarterback looked good. He threw for almost 80%. Our front seven at times got pressure, but we couldn't stop the run. So the thing that has made us pretty decent to watch up until this previous game was the front seven, and the front seven kind of fell off. And you know what? Shout out to KU, though. Like, they came into it with a game plan. The game plan seemingly was, we're going to take what Oklahoma State is good at, and we're going to prove that we can beat it. Or we're going to make Oklahoma State prove that it's not just been a mirage. The last 4 or 5 games before the KU game, wasn't true. And unfortunately, I still believe that those 4 or 5 games, I think it's real. I think our front seven has improved. KU just had a good game plan, and we had difficulty tackling. Those are typically 2 things that don't line up all that well. So thankfully, we get another shot at a Sunflower State foe, and in a position that is kind of reminiscent to Oklahoma State's last year. I know they've won way more games and they're fighting for bowl eligibility, but they had a bunch of players returning, and they invested in NIL, and they did okay in the portal. And, they had this huge buy-in and investment from the locker room. And for whatever reason, it's not working out. We haven't been able to catch anybody reeling at this season, and they've been playing much better recently. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be a reeling in the Wildcats moment. But if the question is, can Oklahoma State keep it close? I do think so. If the question is, can Zane Flores play better? Yes, I think partially because of Kevin Johns, partially with the bye week. There's a multitude of factors that equal Oklahoma State should be able to keep it close. It's crazy that we're at that point in our lives that we're just hoping for, instead of a 19-point loss, if we can get a 17-point loss, that is technically keeping it close-ish, right? Game time tickets is beneficial, but it's not as beneficial as Supply House, especially if you've got some things rocking and rolling that you knew you need to get repaired. The opening whistle blows, and sometimes your new repair is just not quite ready for your finances. So get your whole crew moving forward with Supply House, where they have the best stuff for you, and the pricing is going to make you not sweat as much. Order today and see the parts at your doorstep as early as tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects into the future, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side protected. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Their part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process even smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, low prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Go to supplyhouse.com where you can get with real people, with real services, and real savings with Supply House. All right, before we get on out of here, Cowgirl softball experienced a down year. And Kenny Gaske has spoiled us so ridiculously that we didn't know how to handle it. Didn't see it coming. Didn't know what to think about it. We had a lot of returning talent. We seemingly have been one of the best in the country year after year in the transfer portal. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And ironically enough, the crazy part was coming into the season, Kenny Gaske said, this is probably the most talented offensive team I've ever been a part of. And we just struggled. And maybe offensively, yeah, we had some good games. We had some nice battles. But the pitching staff, ever since Sam Chow, has been elite at Oklahoma State. And we had some elite pitchers last year, but it just didn't quite come together like it was supposed to this previous season. And unfortunately, I do think you're seeing some of that in recruiting. I don't doubt Kenny Gaske. I don't doubt Cowgirl softball. I think that we have more than enough pieces left and enough incoming talent to make something pretty crazy happen. But we got spoiled again. Top 10 classes, top 5 classes, top 15 classes. So when you land the 24th ranked class in the country, still very impressive. But it does feel like that, we've kind of gotten away from Kenny Gaske being the dude that would not only dominate on the diamond, dominate inside the conference, dominate all the way to the World Series, dominate in recruiting, dominate in the portal. We didn't get a lot of domination last year. So I do think that it is very feasible that we have enough talent that we didn't need to kind of go crazy in this class. But don't get it twisted. That might be why it's ranked number 24. And if we had to go super deep with this class, we very well may have ended up with a top 10, top 15 class. However, after being spoiled for so many years consecutively, it does kind of feel weird to look at number 24 and go, oh, that doesn't feel right. Nonetheless, Oklahoma State signed Kennedy Allen out of Chandler, Oklahoma, a left-handed pitcher. She boasts a career 0.86 ERA. That's insane. With 865 strikeouts, 47 shutouts, and 19 no-nos. Led the nation in wins with 30, strikeouts with 342. She's a MVP, all-district player. Goodness gracious. That is crazy. Kenny Gaske on Allen. Kennedy is a left-handed pitcher from Oklahoma that we're really excited about. She brings a different dynamic pitching from the left side. She's been able to command multiple pitches at a young age. We think she's going to get better here at Oklahoma State under Coach Carrie Eberly. And we're excited to see her get here and start her process. Next up is Dawson Blue, an infielder out of the legendary IMG Academy in North Carolina, a 4-star prospect ranked as the number 76 recruit in the country. Competed at IMG Academy, where she held the single-season home run record at 11, the career home run record at 20, and maintained a .446 batting average with a .560 on-base percentage through 3 years at Scotland, and totaled 125 runs, 100 hits, and 98 RBIs. Okay, Dawson Blue. That's Kenny Gaske on Dawson. Dawson is an electric athlete that plays in the middle of the infield. She has great speed and big-time power from a little frame. She plays with a lot of energy that's going to fit the Cowgirl way. Next is Aaliyah Garcia out of Hollywood, California, another infielder Three-time first-team All-League performer who helped Notre Dame to 3 league titles, holds a career 558 batting average with 600 on-base percentage while notching 52 stolen bases. Kenny Gaeski on Aaliyah. Aaliyah is another electric athlete that can play in the middle of the infield. She's a player that blossomed late and continues to shine on the top travel ball circuits in the country. We cannot wait to see how she continues to develop once in Stillwater. Next up is Peyton May. Out of Corona, California, right-hand pitcher, 4-star prospect, ranked number 121 in the country, went 10-2 and struck out 132 batters in 80 innings while holding a 1.49 ERA as a junior. She guided her team to a state title in 2025. First team All-League honors. Kenny Gaeski says on May, "We're excited about Peyton. She's a right-handed pitcher who continues to get better and better as the years go by. We think she can be a mainstay in the rotation right from the start, and she comes from one of the top travel ball programs in the country." Next up is Reese Pogue from Mustang, Oklahoma. We've been hearing about this one for a long time because this 4-star prospect is the bee's knees of Oklahoma, the number 62 ranked recruit in the country. Batted .463 with a .563 on base percentage with 24 walks and only 1 strikeout as a senior at Mustang. Helped them to a fast pitch 6A state title. She was named 2025 District Defensive Player of the Year, All-State, All-Regional. Played for the Iowa Premier National Team, 2025 Colorado Sparkler TV Bracket Champion, batted .386 there. Got on base at a .443 clip, got 9 home runs, and also played basketball for 10 years. What Kenny Gaeski says about Reese: Reese is a powerful bat that has a unique skill set, and she can play as both a catcher and a shortstop at a high level. She's another Oklahoma kid that will be able to come in to Oklahoma State and put up impressive numbers and have a great career here at OSU. Last is Kennelly Russell out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, a 3-star prospect, career .509 hitter with a .564 on-base percentage, 185 hits, 48 doubles, 18 triples, 3-time All-District Tournament performer, and 2-time All-Regional Tournament honoree. What Kenny Gaeski says about Miss Russell: she's another speedy athlete who hits from the left side and can play anywhere in the field, including catcher. She'll be very valuable to the team with her versatility. We're excited for her to get here. Listen, Kenny Gaeski has given us high expectations. Those expectations are to compete for winning Big 12 titles, compete for getting to Omaha for softball, which is Oklahoma City, and continuing to put Oklahoma State in a position to win a natty. We got the new fancy video board. We had success in the transfer portal. We've got some returning talent. Maybe Carrie Everly just didn't quite everything working the way she wanted last year either. So I don't know. We've had so high expectations that I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this season goes. But it's also very visible that Kenny Gaeski can still recruit, and getting some of the top players in the country and in Oklahoma, it's going to mean a little bit more if we have success this season. I have no doubt we're going to be good. I mean, we're always going to be a top 25 level team with Kenny Gaeski, just like we're always going to have top 25 level recruiting acumen with Kenny Gaeski. The question now becomes, after the first down season, how does Kenny Gaeski handle that? This is the first, down season he's had. So it'll be good. I'm excited. All righty, y'all. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor. Hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there, I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All righty, y'all. Later, taters.